Fred, Roggin and Rodney, Pete, AM 570 LA Sports. This hour, the man, the myth, the legend. He's hanging out with us, Arash Markazi.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, I like that. I like that intro.
You know the old line, yeah, you are a legend in your own mind. Thank you. Kind of a vaudeville line. Shecky Green, sorry.
You doing a little Shecky Green?
Sorry I went with that today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. As
All
always.
right. Let's get right into USC and the possible replacements for Lynn Swann. What are you hearing?
Well, you know, I've heard a lot of the same names that are kind of out there. This is someone who's currently an athletic director at a major university, perhaps a Pac-12 university. I don't know the current president. I know who she is. I've said hi, but I don't know her that well to kind of know what direction they are looking at. But from what I've heard, it is not someone clearly who will take the job who has never had the job before. So it is someone at a school currently. That's all I know.
And the names obviously popped up, as you mentioned, in a lot of Pac-12 schools. You had, the person from Oregon, Colorado, Washington State. Are they looking inside the Pac-12, or is it something that you think that they need to go outside of the Pac-12 and find someone from, say, state of Texas or, SEC school or something like that?
Like, I would definitely look at a big-time athletic program with a big-time football school, basketball, but also when you talk about USC, they're great at volleyball and soccer and all these sports. So, I mean, I would look at someone who's helped either turn around a program or has helped take a program to a certain place. So, it makes sense that they're looking at the Pac-12. I would hope that they're just not looking specifically at the Pac-12. I hope that they're looking all over the country. But you have to look at a program that's currently winning and succeeding.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, SC's won some games a lot of people didn't think they were going to win, in particular Utah last week. Depending on how the season goes, I mean, they've got a tough road. They got Washington and they got Notre Dame and some tough games coming up. Can they do anything with Clay Helton, regardless of what goes on, without an athletic director there?
No, I think the AD has to make that call. I think it would be foolish to hire a coach without it coming from the new person in charge. I mean, that you would really be putting that person in a very difficult position. So I think the new AD, that should be their first big hire. And as much as, we've talked about how much we like Clay personally, I just think it's going to be hard for him. Depending on how this season plays out, but generally speaking, this person is going to want to bring in their own coach. So if it's depending on who the new athletic director is, I mean, they probably have a prior relationship with the coach that they want to hire.
And that being said, the athletic director will make the call. Over the weekend, people were saying to me, well, if Clay Helton loses, is he going to be gone right now? No. There's no way they can get rid of the guy because ultimately there's nobody to fire him. There's nobody in charge.
Exactly.
The school president is not going to make that decision.
And beyond that, Clay has really done a lot to stabilize the program, and I know the bar was kind of low, but I mean, when the whole situation happened with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, Clay Helton was there to stabilize the program, and so listen, if they lost to a top 10 team, I mean, I think it would have been ridiculous to let him go. I think he should finish out the season. And by the way that they're playing, I don't think there's a scenario where he doesn't make it through the season. But he's done nothing to humiliate the program. He's done nothing to kind of lose the faith of the fans. I just don't think he might be the right guy long term. But again, the team is playing hard. They've lost one game all season. They're 3-1. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, and I don't look. There's no illusions out here. USC is not a team that everybody's looking at right now to say, oh, they're going to compete for a national title. So there's no reason. I've never been a big fan of firing the head coach in the middle of the season unless you absolutely have to. So I really don't see that scenario happening, especially without, as Fred said, without an athletic director. What good would it do if they did it, even if the SC loses its next two or it goes, 6-5, whatever they go? It doesn't make sense to fire him during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you do that in extreme circumstances where the belief is that he's lost the confidence of the team, he's lost the locker room. There is a up-and-coming head coach on the staff. Maybe if Cliff Kingsbury was still on the staff. That's not the case here. I mean, they've lost one tough game. But he hasn't lost the confidence of the players. He hasn't done anything crazy. So no, listen, with Kiffin, he lost the locker room. With Sarkisian, he had his own problems. And by the way, that is the only times in the over 100-year history of the program where they fired a coach during the season. So this is not something that's common. Those are two unique situations there.
When you get to hiring a coach, though, who really makes the call? Now, the athletic director, obviously, you would think, this is who I want.
Mm-hmm.
The president has to sign off, and the board of trustees have to sign off. So whoever the athletic director is, and obviously he gets a vote of confidence, or she, because they've been installed, still at all, they may want somebody that the higher-ups don't want.
Exactly, and that's where you have sort of this unique situation with some of these big-name candidates out there, who have...
Urban Meyer,
a little bit,
little baggage with Urban Meyer.
Little baggage there. So, what is the thought process there? Is that worth that? Is that worth bringing in someone like that if the athletic director wants to bring in that coach, but the president does not? Who has the final say-so? Again, I think that's the first question that I would ask the president before I took this job. Can I hire the man that I think will be the best person for this job? Because I would say when you look at the track record, he's probably the guy that you would have to hire or try to hire when you look at what he's done: Utah, Florida, Ohio State. So he makes the most sense. Obviously, as a president of a university, he has some stuff in his past that you would maybe not want to hire someone like that. So that would be my first question. Listen, if my future is attached to this hire, I want to make this hire.
Yeah, and how much leeway do you have in that situation?
Yeah.
Say like an Urban Meyer, who all accounts is the best coach out there that's available. Yeah. Do you live with the baggage or live with the controversy? Because it'll be short-lived. It'll be for a year or two.
Sure.
And people say, why are you hiring the guy? He's got all the baggage, and he did this at this place and this place and that place. But as he starts winning, and then it kind of goes in the back of everyone's mind, right?
Exactly. I mean however you want to frame it, unfortunately or not, once USC begins the season and they're a top 10 team and they start blowing out teams and they're a national championship contender again, I mean, that's the story, and so
is football at SC that big that they can say,
oh yeah,
we're willing to take that risk and we're willing to eat the negative controversy? Because here we are as a school, and I've been brought in as a president to clean up the whole school and the athletic department, yet I'm hiring a guy that's got some baggage.
Because here's what happens, if it's him, those questions will be asked at the press conference, maybe the first week of practices, maybe it gets gets brought up in week 1, but then once you get into the season, it's just about the football and it's about the team and stuff like that. And so if USC is fine with that, and depending on who they hire and if they have a prior relationship with him, I mean, again, when you just look at the track record, he makes the most sense in that spot right now.
Reggie Bush was at the Coliseum along with Matt Leinart. When USC played Utah, they were working the game for Fox. Couple of things. First, they were seen standing in the end zone when they were not on set, fist bumping guys and waving their arms when USC scored. They're working for Fox. They're doing a national broadcast.
Yeah.
And they're standing
on a break, Fred.
Was that right?
Well, here's the thing. It was a very unique situation because USC and Fox had to go to the NCAA to say, can he work this game? As crazy as that sounds, can he do his job? They gave him the right. So this is Reggie Bush's one chance, probably this season, and it's the first time he's gone in 10 years, to go watch his team. And he still considers that his team, right? He's a Trojan. He's went to USC. So it was a unique situation, and you can't take away what he's meant to that program. And so one of the things that I touched on in my column today, there's this feeling that why doesn't USC recognize him? It's not USC's call. USC, as early as this year, has requested, can we get a date where we can finally formally welcome him back? Chris Webber, if you look back at his situation, they said 10 years. And after that 10 years was over, he was welcomed back. I think last year he was a captain of the team. And Juwan Howard is now the coach of Michigan, so he'll be back. They said no, he is permanently disassociated, which is, I mean, when you compare the two situations, what Chris Webber went through and what Reggie Bush went through, to say one is 10 years and one is permanent is ridiculous. So I get why they were celebrating. This might be his only chance to go to a game and do that. Hopefully that's not the case, but it is a little ridiculous that the NCAA is saying 10 years for Chris Webber, permanently for you.
You think that ever gets changed?
I think so. I just think it's just so ridiculous. And especially when you look at what happened to that game Friday night, where he's on the field and there's fans in the crowd with his jersey and his shirt, and they're chanting his name, and he's talking to players. And I know the NCAA doesn't like seeing that, but you can't erase the past. You can't deny it, right? And so I guess what they're saying is, you know, we don't have to put his jersey up. We don't have to return his Heisman Trophy, but let's not pretend like he wasn't a part of this program. That's ridiculous.
Do you think it makes any sense at this point in time for the NCAA to legislate how USC can celebrate one of its former players? I just don't get this.
No, it doesn't make sense. I mean, he left the program. I mean, when you look at next year, it will have been 15 years since his last game and 10 years since these sanctions came down. It's time to move on. And so when I write a story like that, that's not me failing to move on. That's me basically saying USC would like to recognize him. And by the way, he would be such a great person to come back and speak to the team about what he's gone through. And so why not use that, and why not allow him to come back and return home?